Good afternoon, everybody. The most distinguished organizers of the World Conference on Sports Medicine, especially Dr. Jessie La Madam, Dr. C.P. Lee, and his team members. I am indeed very happy to welcome all speakers, guests, organizing committee members, and participants of the World Conference on Exercise Medicine, which is a very long conference to be organized from 20th October 2020 to 11th November 2020. Today we are fourth day of our World Conference on Exercise Medicine. And as you are aware that Dr. Jasila Madam she is spreading exercise is a medicine all over the world to avoid the non-communicable diseases. Due to corona pandemic, COVID-19, the conference can't able to organize online in the month of June. It is indeed a great occasion that a conference is organized offline. Today we are having in the category of exercise and mental health speakers. First speaker is Dr. Lim Boon Hoi. He worked as an associate professor in University of Malaya, Malaysia. He is indeed a great speaker in all conferences and webinars. He is a former deputy director of University of Malaya Sports Center, and he is our very close friend. After that, we are having another speaker, Dr. Garry Kwan. Dr. Garry Kwan from Malaysia. He is also a elite speaker. Today, Garry Kwan is going to speak impact of brain breaks. Videos on improving the coping strategies for Malaysian the new norms. It is a wonderful topic. It is my privilege and happiness to welcome most distinguished two speakers. That is Dr. Lim Boon Hoi is speaking on exercise and mental health, and Dr. Garry Kwan, I met him in other conferences. He is also a wonderful human being. And I hope that Garry will introduce the Professor Henry C. Daut and Dr. Nurashikin and Mr. Kean Mun. I am indeed thankful to the organizers for making me as a guest to open the category of the session exercise and mental health on the day 4 of 20th October. I wish organizing committee and all our guest speakers, everybody a good luck. Thank you very much. Thank you all. My request, Dr. Lim Boon Hoi, I hope that you can take the session, and our moderators also will collaborate with you. Thank you. Thank you.
Good day to all the participants of World Conference on Exercise Medicine 2020. Welcome. I would like to welcome all participants to this special edition of World Conference on Exercise Medicine 2020, which is the first time is online. And I would like to urge that everyone here to be, you're going to gain something, because this conference is something very, very special, because it's not only theoretical or something to share with their experiences, but it is also something that you can learn and bring back, and then to practice it to reduce whatever the NCD power. So with that today, my topic is actually to talk about the cultivating happiness with the appropriate exercise parameters. And most of the time we can hear that actually when you talk about happiness, and then a lot of people not sure actually what is the dosage of the exercise actually they can practice, so they actually can reduce or increase whatever the happiness that in their life. So that you can see that actually my photos and all that, and from here, I'm actually from University of Malaya. And when you talk about happy people, are the lively, witty, and also have the ability to spread joy and laughter around them. So this is very important, because in the happy world is the most important things there here. And then above all, happy people lead to the more successful life, and also possesses the greater capability to handling challenging situations. So that when you are happy, so that whatever obstacle comes in, you actually able to overcome it. This is all the previous research and all that have been done. And then can you see that there are three main components that happiness that have been identified by the researcher. Number one, frequent positive affection of, or we call it as joy. So the person is actually in joy. That means number one, to be happy. And then high level of life satisfactions over the period of time. That means the person is satisfied whatever he or she do. That's why he become a happy people. And three is actually absence of the negative feelings such as depression and anxiety. If you want to be happy, that means number three is actually the most important, is actually you don't have any negative feeling such as depression and also anxiety. So this is all the previous study have been they proved that these are the things they propose. And then one of the key strategies to improving happiness is reducing negative feeling is exercise. So do your exercise, which contributed to healthy aging by preventing disability, mobility, mortality, and in older adult. This is also quite a number of researchers have been shows that these are the things that talking about when you do exercise is actually you can all the good effect. Yeah. And also the benefit of exercise on the mental health have been well documented. A lot of people, a lot of study have been doing that. They talk about how exercise actually can bring up all these good things and all that. And then for instance, there are a large body of the literature demonstrating that the exercise effectively reduce depression and anxiety. So when you refer to literature, a lot of research have been done actually on this side. Is actually exercise reduce depression and anxiety. So when everybody is talking about all the negative, that means reduce the negative side of the mental health. Yeah. So however, previous study have been predominantly focused on the effect of exercise on the negative aspect. That means negative means that depression, stress, and all these are negative aspects of the mental health, and then concern the use of exercise as a preventive or curative approach to the mental disorder. So when the mental disorder, you can use the exercise to actually overcome it. These are the quite number of studies. If you refer to the register, there are so many of them actually did a study on that. And also, can you see that the investigation of the relationship between exercise and mental disorder is important? Why is it so important? Because mental disorder is linked with the increase of mobility, premature mortality, and also greater medical costs. That means whoever got this problem, mental disorder, they are the one actually cost more. So they're actually leading to mortality as well. So other than that, you talk about in contrast the relationship between exercise and positive mental construct is having remained largely unexplored. So that's why I'm going to talk about this is a positive mental side instead of talking about negative mental side. Yeah. So the World Health Organization had stressed the positive dimension of the mental health and defined that health is the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely on absence of disease or the infirmity. That means that all conclude that everything you must include that physical, mental, and social well-being. So other than that, you can see that therefore attention should not only given to the negative aspect. So that what I'm trying to convey here is actually most of the research they talk about negative aspects. So now I'm trying to bring to the positive aspect in terms of the exercise to the mental health. And other than that, among the factors associated with happiness, exercise have received increasing attention among the psychologists. So the psychologists, they have been doing the study and they talk about the exercise is one of the intervention that actually can bring to the happiness. And recent cross-sectional studies based on the large general population have been shown that exercise is associated with the happiness. So this is very, very important that quite a number of studies have been shown that. And some review indicated that the exercise might be important correlate with of happiness, and also the investigation of the effect of the exercise on happiness would be the very promising research area. So that they urge that not talking about exercise to mental disorder, but now is talking about happiness is on the positive side. So such investigation is also thought that enable new channel to apply health promotion models in exercise intervention, so that now this is the newer things that people talk about. Should be focused on the positive instead of focusing on the negative side. Other than that, so now I'm going to talk about a little bit on when people doing exercise, people say you want to bring up the happiness is actually how much, what is the intervention, what type of exercise is actually good for me. So this is unexplored. So what I have here is actually from the research that I presented. And then, so number one, actually look at the type of exercise associated with the level of happiness. So what type of exercise? The type of exercise program implemented in the intervention study included aerobic exercise, means that whatever aerobic exercise you want to do, and then mixed school exercise classes, and then people have been done that, and also a lot of people have been doing on the stretching and balance exercises. So that these are the things like from the research you actually can find all this, yeah. And then type of exercise also, these studies clearly specify the time, frequency and duration of the exercise program, with the time ranging from 30 minutes to 75 minutes. Frequency is actually from once a week to 5 times a week, and then duration is actually from 7 weeks to 12 months. So this is all the previous study have been reported in terms of the type of exercise. So in terms of that, then the effect of moderate intensity aerobic exercise with a stretching exercise for 6 months among the sedentary older adult with 40 minutes each time and then 3 times a week, resulting reported that happiness levels significantly improved in both aerobic exercise group and also stretching group after 6-month intervention, and then there was no difference within the group. That means whether it's a stretching group or the aerobic group. So this means what? Means like as long you do exercise, you can improve your happiness level. Very important. So that 30-minute stretching and balance exercise between 3 times per week and for 8 weeks among the older adult. This is also another study they did for the older adult for stretching and also balance exercise 3 times a week. Also this study found that intervention group significantly increased the happiness level after 8 weeks, while no intervention group did not. So they actually they compare between groups. So they found that actually whatever you do, whether it's stretching or balance exercise, it actually can improve your happiness. So other than that, another study, 8 weeks of stretching and balancing exercise intervention for 60 minutes and then 1 time per week, only once, significantly improved the happiness level of intervention group, but did not in usual care group among older. Again, they did on the nursing home, the older senior adult and all that. This was carried out in Taiwan. So that again, they say only stretching and balancing exercise for seniors is actually can improve once a week, And then other than that, research examining the association between aerobic exercise and several aspects of the psychological well-being, such as mood state and anxiety in non-clinical population. So the other study they did on that exercise and on psychological mood, especially on the mood state. So far fewer studies have focused on the psychological effect on the strength training. So that it was so sad because I'm trying to get something like related to strength training or resistance training or weight training, but somehow it's very difficult, maybe due to certain aspect that weight training is actually not induce or actually bring up the happiness level, but maybe they can actually reduce the anxiety, depressions and stress level and all that. That one have been done with all the exercise, but none of them is actually talking about strength training. But we know that actually resistance training or strength training actually can bring up all this as well. Yeah? And as such, what I can say here is actually from the literature, previous findings reported that the type of exercise, regardless of aerobic, balance, stretching, whatever the school program, carry out once a week, 30 minutes per session, 8 weeks intervention, able to improve happiness level. So this is overall, you talk about happiness level. Yeah? So that this is all the project. So now we move on to the another one is talking about frequency and duration of the exercise associated with the level of happiness. We don't know that. So exercise frequency and exercise volumes are the essential factors in the relationship between exercise and happiness. So quite a number of people are there. This is a quite newer study on Zhang and Chen. As importantly, even a small change of exercise make a difference in happiness. A little bit change or improve a little bit, actually happiness are different. So study shows that the significant differences in the happiness level between doing exercise 1 day per week or none per week. So even 1 day per week frequently is good enough actually from the previous study. Yeah? So in terms of that, as a 10-minute exercise per week might be greatly increase the odds of being happy. Remember that even 10 minutes per week is more than enough. Yeah, this is from the previous study. So such patterns as a small amount of exercise year benefit was similar in the relationship between exercise and other aspect of the mental health, such as depression and anxiety as well. So that these are the previous study have been reported. So now we move on to another parameters is intensity of the exercise associated with the level of happiness. How much that you have to put in. So previous study have been demonstrated aerobic exercise and stretching and balancing exercise were equally effective. That means there are no differences whether you're doing aerobic exercise, stretching exercise or balance exercise. Actually, all these exercises are able to improve your happiness. So the positive association between the exercise and various intensity of exercise, whether it's light, moderate or vigorous, were reported across observation study and all that. So that is almost the same whether you're doing light one, moderate one or vigorous one. Exercise is still induced, bring up the happiness level. So in terms of other things like several cross-sectional studies found that there were no differences in happiness level between active individual and also a very active individual. So that in terms of they measure on how much actually they active. They're doing 5 times a week, 3 times a week is actually is still the same. Yeah, look at that. So might not be an optimum type or intensity of exercise in the relationship between exercise and happiness. So they suggested that actually in terms of exercise, regardless of what, even 10 minutes, you actually can improve, or whether you're low intensity or moderate intensity or high intensity, is still there's no differences in terms of bringing to the happiness level. So these are the things that we need to understand. So other than that, but the relationship between exercise and happiness might be domain specific, in which leisure time exercise showing the most consistent positive association with happiness. But the other study shows that this is quite a recent one. They say if you take the exercise during the leisure time, so it actually can improve your happiness much better than that maybe your schedule or during the working time, that in between or the working that you go for exercise. And then these are the things, the key word is leisure time. Yeah, so that if you can take the exercise during. So other than that, you can see that the intensity of exercise program were reported. The 4 study indicated that the percentage of the maximum heart rate. So all this is talking about percentage of maximum heart rate consumption. So all this maybe they link to intensity to the physiological parameters. But now we are talking about more mental health parameters, and other parameters of exercise we associated with the level of happiness, because happiness we are talking about mental side, psychology side, and then that's why we are. So another study actually they found that gender difference was found two study, and with the male showing the positive association between exercise and habit, with the female not. Means like they found that gender differences, the male are more happier when compared to female when they do exercise. So these are the study have been shown. One possible explanation may be that the men are more likely to participate in exercise for the reason of enjoyment than women. This is the 2007 study they have been shown that why men is more bring up the happiness. So I think make sure that if your husband or your boyfriend will encourage them to go and do exercise, the man, yeah. And then other than that, other parameters that you can say that is actually overweight population. There's a study they talk about compare the overweight population and also the normal population. Exercise, then overweight population might be gain more benefit of exercise on happiness than the normal weight population. It might be because of the overweight population is the higher risk of being unhappy that has more room to improve. That's why these are the suggestions that have been come out with this researcher, and so that when you train the obese client or you work with the obese client or overweight client, that means they actually can bring up more happiness. Other than that, other parameters, that health status, social functioning, perceived of health appeal, and then also the account to the relation between exercise and happiness. So that health status means like a person. If let's say I'm healthy, I'm doing exercise, that means my happiness level is much higher. Social functioning means like the person is actually go to the gym because they want to socialize, they want to make more friends, chit chat and talking about all that. They feel very happy. That's why if happiness level will be much higher compared to those just go to the gym, finish their workout and then go home and without friends and all that. There's no something to talk about. So another thing is a perceived of health appeal, means like they themselves, the participant, how they perceive that, whether this exercise actually can bring the good health for them or not. So these are the things that we talk about, that other parameters, and it is demonstrated the social relationship and health were the important determinants of happiness. So very important. This study they shows that social relationship means like, let's say you go for exercise, you go for jogging or something like, you jog alone or you jog with the friends. So the relationship, so that after jogging, they actually can talk about, you got more friends to talk about, you can socialize and then all that. These are the very important, and of course when they discuss, they talk about health, whether they improve the health or not. These are the things is bring out the happiness very obvious. So other than that, previous study shows that there are some differences across the culture in terms of the causes of happiness. So in terms of different country, different cultures, happiness are a little bit of differences, such as the relationship between the self-esteem and also happiness is moderated by the individual. So the individual, they say they may be intrinsic people, extrinsic people. So most of the time, intrinsic people, the happiness is a bit difficult to induce that. But the extrinsic people, that means it's talk about individualization. And also self-esteem. Whether the person to do exercise because they have a high esteem, then they can actually improve the happiness level more than low esteem people. So these are the things that I talk about. Other parameters, but another study indicated that exercise is consistently correlate with the happiness in the country across various areas, indicating no cultural, but in terms of other things, like not because of the individualistic or not because of the self-esteem, in any culture, in any country in the world, actually the cultures is no differences. They still exercise can bring up the happiness level. So with that, I think I would like to conclude that as such, just carry out your exercise, follow the suitable type, whatever type you are, as long you're doing exercise, appropriate duration means like regardless, at least the previous study shows that at least 10 minutes a week also is enough. And then sufficient intensity, in terms of intensity, whether it's low, moderate or high, just do it. Regardless of low, medium or high. And then acceptable frequency, that means how many times a week, it depends on you. Let's say you're free and anytime, at least once a week. Do it. Yeah. So the most important thing is you enjoy and able to cultivate happiness. So the happiness is actually can change a lot of things. If not, you are doing exercise, it's actually by forcing. I don't think so you are happy with that. So with that, I think I would like to say thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
But there is a question, simple question. Yeah, maybe I can answer straight away. You say, can we be happy even though we don't do exercise? It depends of individual. If your personality is actually happy people, why not? This can be a happy people all the time without exercise. But this is exercise is kind of subsidiary. It depends on the individual as well. Yeah. So that I hope I can answer your question. That yeah, there's so many. I also don't know. Hopefully, I can answer that. Outcome. There's another question talking about outcome measures of happiness. I think there's a lot of questionnaire out there. You can actually just measure that. There's happiness questionnaire, and the validated and reliable questionnaire can be used to measure the happiness. So I think that one no problem with that. Yeah. Not exercise but just walking. Let's say example, would it induce happiness? Yes. I think if let's say you are walking itself instead of exercise, I think walking is part and parcel of your exercise as well. Definitely, as long it induce certain kind of things, then you actually induce your happiness as well. As long the most important thing I think in exercise and happiness is actually whether you like it or not. If you like it, by all means lah. And then another. Can you suggest some exercise during this pandemic? I think during pandemic period is actually individual again. I'm going to share again during another 3 more days. Is talking about home-based exercises and all that. Again, some people, let's say, if you learn a certain during this pandemic period, you can't go to the gym, you can't go for jogging, you cannot go for cycling, you cannot go for swimming and all that. And by all means, like, you have to stay at home and do your home exercises. That is what we can say. So again, these are the suggestions. Again, level of happiness, I did done that. How can we know the level of happiness after exercise? There is actually the questionnaire to measure simple. But again, happiness is only giving you a guideline. So you answer a certain question and then you determine whether you're happy or not, your level of happiness. You know, that is what normally people use to, because we can't have a device like put on our head and then measure that, hey, what is your level of happiness? Oh, you are 10 or you are 5 or you are 3. No, we don't have that. It's still a little bit of subjective. So it depends because it's based on the questionnaire and all that. And now for her, so doctor, is it true that men are happier after doing exercise? This is what I presented from the literature. They say that man is actually more happier than the woman when they after the exercise. But maybe this is one of the study. Maybe you can carry out another study in Malaysia. Maybe Malaysian men are different. We don't know. Maybe this is not across the board. This is one of the study reported. So maybe the measurement using that is different and all that. So that, of course, the female, they don't like to go to the gym. If the men, they like to go to a gym, a certain event is different. So that I think I hope that I can answer that, because men and women in terms of interest, in terms of the sport, or in terms of exercise, the type of exercise intensity and other than that is all different. So that it might induce a different level of happiness. So this is one of the study that they talk about that. Yeah, these are the questions that we have other option in terms of like bring out our happiness and then bringing down our anxiety level if we cannot do exercise because of the accidents and all that? And of course, happiness, there are so many other things. People even watching movie also happy, you know, eating food also happy. Whatever things is happiness is not only exercise 100%. It's like so many other things that like you see your boyfriend, you see your girlfriend, then you feel happy. Or you see your mom, you see your dad, and then you feel happy. So that kind of thing, any other thing is actually bringing to the happiness. Because you see, at the end, happiness is actually can overtake and overcome the anxiety and also stress level of the human being. So that if you are always happy, that means you are the person is not like in the depression. The worst part is actually we don't want to come anyone to turn into the depression. So depression also the mental health problem. So we don't want that. So that we trying to use the physical part to change. To make it a positive side in terms of negative side in terms of mental health. So hopefully I can answer the question that. All right, I think these are the few questions I managed to get. Yeah. Yeah, I think I answered most of the question that things that yeah. Okay, if that maybe I Henny or there any question that you still needed and clarification, maybe you send it to my personal what I call it, email address so that we can talk about it, we can discuss about it. Yeah. With that, I think I handing over to the chairperson or maybe the secretary. Okay.
Thank you very much, Dr. Lim Boon Hoi, for the wonderful presentation. How to cultivate the happiness through excess parameters. Happiness has become a very important in life during COVID pandemic and every time also. Our next speaker is Dr. Garry Kwan, PN, is from Malaysia. His topic is Impact of Brain Breaks, videos on improving coping strategies for Malaysian, the new norms. The new norm is regarding the new COVID era. He is going to tell. It is a one wonderful presentation. I welcome Garry Kwan. Please give a wonderful talk today. Everybody is waiting. Thank you very much. God bless.
Hi everyone, my name is Garry Kwan from University Science Malaysia, and I'd like to welcome you to the World Conference on Exercise Medicine 2020. First of all, before I start, I'd like to thank the organizer for organizing such an eventful conference, whereby even though due to this COVID-19, we cannot meet physically, we can still meet virtually. So it's a very good initiative that we can still able to share knowledge, fun, and also learn from others as well. So today, I'm very delighted to share my topic of interest, which is entitled Impact of Brain Breaks videos on improving coping strategies for Malaysian, the new norms. So, COVID-19 is the first global pandemic of our generation spreading worldwide, disrupting the everyday life of people living in the affected area, affecting almost every industry, including healthcare, education, transportation, finance, and cultural activities. The outbreaks of COVID-19 has forced government to impose lockdown, whereby movement controls order, work at home policies for a prolonged period of time. All of a sudden, most of the world population has been in lockdown as their new norms forms of living. Although these steps are crucial to show the spread of COVID-19 and to slow down the spreading of COVID, they can have a detrimental effects on the psychological distress and other mental health symptoms, including anxiety about the uncertainty of the virus, stress from social isolation, etc. So the lockdown, coupled with ever-increasing number of reported cases and deaths, economic instability, frustrations, boredom, insufficient resources and access to regular medical care whereby we do not have access sometimes or not enough resources to cope in the medical care, changes in the daily routine and widespread media coverage may all contribute to unintended health consequences that may persist long after this COVID-19 outbreak. Let's just see this slide. The new norm is sporting events. You can see in every events are organized, you do not have spectators or you have virtual spectators. So it becomes very odd even you are competing in a world championship without a spectators beside. What about exercising in the gym? Exercising in the gym due to new norms. When you exercise in the gym, you cannot go to exercise together with your friend side by side. You have to follow the standard operation of procedures whereby you have to have social distancing. After using the equipment, you also need to clean and also sanitize the equipment so that other people will be able to use it safely. In terms of gym hygiene, you need to control your coughing. Okay, even you feel that you want to cough, you cannot just cough outside. You need to use a tissue to close or wearing a mask if you are not doing a workout. Always remember to wash your hands, minimize contact with others, and then avoid face touching using your hands to touch your face and also wipe down equipments. There's a lot of things you need to follow the standard operations procedure. Well, because of this COVID-19, depression is on the rise worldwide. You can see in most airport whereby there's hardly any people going to travel. Under such condition, maintaining physical and mental health is more crucial than ever, because not only can your body affected, your mind will also be affected. So physical activity is considered essential in maintaining mental health and has been recognized as an important method for dealing with stress. Due to COVID-19 on physical activity, unfortunately, due to COVID-19, there's been reduction significantly in physical activity. There's been increase in unhealthy eating habits whereby people are at home, keep on eating and eating. The increase in sitting and screening time whereby most people like to watch TV, televisions, their favorite drama again and again, and physical inactivity has been increasing whereby this has been linked to higher chronic disease, increase in cardiovascular risk factors, increase in morbidity and mortality rates due to this COVID-19. So what is the benefits of exercise? By exercising, moderate intensity physical activity can increase your immune system. It will be able to improve your cardiovascular and respiratory function. It will also reduce the risk of chronic disease such as diabetes mellitus, hypertension, heart disease, cancer. So this will also reduce your risk of severe disease and death in COVID-19. Besides, the benefit of exercise can also lower the level of anxiety, depressions, and perceived stress. According to FIFA and WHO, they promote about be active at home during this COVID outbreak, whereby try to do more online exercise classes, jumping ropes, dancing, playing active video games. In short, physical activity and being active is important during this outbreak. Similarly, you can see the ideas of physical activity during self-isolations by MCQ Shield. It says that dancing, cleaning, gardening, washing, and also doing online exercise physical activities is also very, very, very good. What about outdoor physical activity? It depends on rules and regulation. Different countries have different restrictions, rules, guidelines, and standard operation of procedure. Some countries allow you to exercise outdoor, some do not. So all you need to do is to avoid crowd and large gathering. Practice physical distancing at least 1 meter apart and avoid unnecessary touching and have adequate hand hygiene. According to this study actually conducted from Netherlands and Belgium, it talks towards the aerodynamic equivalent of COVID-19, 1.5 meters social distancing for walking and running. They propose that if you are doing just walking exercise, it is advisable to have 4 to 5 meters of social distancing. If you are exercising in the, for example, running, so if possible, try to have at least 10 meters of distance. If you are doing cycling, try to maintain a 20 meters of social distancing. That's why, because due to many countries, WHO, FIFA, they promote exercise using videos. Okay, one of the very important, or what we did in Malaysia, is to implement brain breaks. Okay, so brain breaks is a physical activity investment that works. Let me explain to you what is brain breaks. Brain Breaks Physical Activity Solution is an interactive online web-based physical activity videos developed to help revitalize student behavior by moving and engaging physical activity cognitively in the context of health, and has been designed specifically for the classroom setting. Let us see what is Brain Breaks. Okay. Brain Breaks is an online streaming, and this project has been started since 2013. And until today, we already have 54 countries or regions has been implementing Brain Breaks in their respective country. So it is actions which is the action in Brain Breaks is simple, repeatable, with engaging students with moderate to vigorous physical activity. Okay, so you were able to download Brain Breaks for free, by the way. And in Malaysia, due to this movement control order, we managed to sign up over 4,000 new users in Brain Breaks. So we have over 500 international created Brain Breaks, whereby you can have different culture, different Brain Breaks. So for example, you want to learn about Taekwondo and exercise with a Taekwondo athlete, you will find a Brain Breaks from Korea. If you want to find, for example, you want to learn about Muay Thai, and then you will find one brain breaks from Thailand. So there's different dance and different sports created in brain breaks. Recently, we created one brain breaks for the local school, whereby we are using drums. Okay, so the outcome of the study, whereby we want to conduct a study to find out the effect of brain breaks on quality of life among the Malaysians during the movement control order periods. So the research question is, are there any effects of using brain breaks on quality of life among Malaysians? So the study will employ a pre-post test, whereby it's lasting for only 4 weeks during the movement control order in Malaysia. We have 30 participants, whereby they age from 20 to 25 years old. They were divided into 2 groups, interventions and control groups, and both groups underwent the interventions, whereby Group A, the intervention is brain breaks video every day for a cumulative of 15 minutes. Whereas Group B received this breathing exercise. Still a good intervention. Let's see. So this is a roller coaster. They are running together at the roller coasters, and they have to stand one leg and then they run again. And you can see they are enjoying doing the exercise at home. Next one. Doing one leg jumping. Okay, what's about the results? So in this study, we measured the WHO quality of life, whereby you can see physical health, psychological, and environmental health increase in terms of the group effects. So we concluded that brain breaks intervention was successful in helping to enhance the quality of life, specifically on physical health, social and environmental health of the participant during the movement control order period. However, of course, further study will need to require, because due to the COVID-19 and due to social distancing, due to lockdown periods, we could not do the study face to face. So we have to minimize that by sending the videos to the participant. Nevertheless, brain breaks could be recommended to be used throughout Malaysian, especially young and old, as a holistic approach to improve the overall quality of life during this mobility control orders period. If you want to learn more about brain breaks, you can go to our study at British Journals of Sports Medicine, whereby we talk about the bright spot physical activity investment that works implementing brain breaks in Malaysian primary school. We also publish many articles or journals using brain breaks to understand how brain breaks increase the motivations for physical activity, increases their short-term memory, increases their motivations, increases their motive to exercise, and from a trans-theoretical perspective, they are moving from pre-contemplation of exercise to action. So this concludes my study, but before I finish, I'd like to acknowledge my team in USM, whereby our students work very hard and they come to learn and to implement the study of their research, and that's why we were able to publish good articles together. Also like to acknowledge my guru, my teachers who have taught me and also guide me during my study life as a postdoc, my PhD, and also as a researcher. With that, if you have any question, you can more than happy to email me at gary@usm.my. Okay, See you. Bye. Okay, are there any questions? Okay, what is actually brain breaks? Brain break is just basically a short breaks period. We invented brain breaks basically just for students, especially during the class. Between a class, they were able to use brain breaks to exercise, to promote blood flow, and to do more exercise. And now we've been expanding brain breaks to different areas. For example, during MCO, we combine different brain breaks video exercises that they were able to use it during this mobility control orders, MCO or PKB periods, so that they were able to exercise. Like Dr. Lim said that it will promote more happiness. And the most important thing is used as a coping strategies to enhance more exercise and to basically to enhance their quality of life. Thank you. Okay, how do we implement brain breaks in commercialized gym services? Brain breaks is specifically used in school setting. You can use it at home. Okay, you can do it in gym as well, whereby, for example, you finish one gym as exercise and then you have a breaks. You can actually use some of the lower intensity exercise to relax as well, because there's music behind whereby it promotes more fun enjoyment. Okay, I think you can also download all the brain breaks video at brain breaks BRAINS.org. Then you were able to sign up first, then you were able to download the brain breaks video. Any more questions? Okay, the screen time involved in brain breaks. Thank you. Basically, all the brain breaks is a short period of time. So we are only planning every brain breaks will be approximately 3 to 5 minutes only. So if you like to have a combination of 10 minutes of brain breaks, so you have to combine brain breaks 1, 2, and 3 at the similar intensity. Okay, yeah. Okay, a question from Hamiza talking about can exercise influence student well-being and their achievement academically? Yes, okay. By exercising, actually you promote more oxygen uptakes. Okay, your brain will able to think better, and of course, studies have shown that cognitively you will be better. In fact, our study in brain breaks on student primary school, we found that brain breaks able to enhance cognition as well. So their thinking and short-term memory were able to increase after doing the exercise. Thank you. A question from Renee. Is brain break similar to after-class activity in the school program? Unfortunately, it's totally different. So after-class activity is basically you finish a class. I'm one of the certified after-class communities in the Australian. We do program in the afternoons. Okay, that will be for an hour long. But for brain breaks, we do it during the class periods. We preferably do it during class periods. And most importantly, you can actually do brain breaks anywhere. For example, if you are diabetes, you can able to download brain breaks related to diabetes exercise and then use it for your exercise routine. Okay. Okay. A question for Lee Xiaoping. Could I ask a question about marathon? Is the activity is for brain? Okay. So for marathon, so if I actually participate 3 marathon before, really is good for you, but it's more about the mental. How do you sustain to complete the running? But again, you need training. Okay, you need training always. You need a lot of trainings, mentally prepared before participating in any marathon. Okay, so another question from Isyamuddin bin Ismail. Nice to meet you. Is there any tips to maintain athlete spirits? Okay, yes, I know that at the moment many athletes, some of them is down, especially when I work with Team GB. Some of the athletes are feeling very drained out, some burnout, and some even feel depressed as well. So in this moment, like Dr. Lim said, very important to have social interactions. Okay, as a sports psychologist, we are there to help them to work with them, and also to build their motivations. It's very important to get what is the next thing coming up. Okay, so for example, if it's a next competition, just even a virtual or small competition, is important for them to continue to be motivated to exercise and to go for training themselves. Okay, yeah. Will brain breaks activities increase screen time and affect concentration level? By Colin Egbert. Wow, this is a very interesting question, whereby you are increasing screen time and affecting concentration level. As I said, brain breaks is basically a break whereby you have 3 to 5 minutes. Then you can use the brain breaks exercise. It is more about enhancing the motivation or motive to exercise. Okay, so we have a lot of study actually shows that brain breaks enhance physical activity level for primary school, for secondary school, and for also diabetes patient as well. Okay, according to Shan Hua Huan, okay, does watching micro video belongs to brain breaks because it's belong to leisure times to do things? Basically, it's not micro video, it's basically about exercising together. Unfortunately, I saw that the video today is not working. You can also go to our website at brainbreaks.org, whereby you can see it yourself. Or you like to know more about brain breaks, you can also email me at gary@usm.my or garyquan@brunel.ac.uk. Okay, so I will able to share you some of the brain break activities. Okay. So other question? Okay, from Mila A. Galado. How do we measure the effectiveness of brain breaks, is it? Okay, to measure the effectiveness of brain breaks, we measure the coherence. Okay, does people actually continue to do brain breaks? Because you have over 500 videos to choose, 500 activity for you to do. Okay, so that's a lot of exercises, and most important thing, you're able to learn different culture. For example, you like to learn something about Korean and Taekwondo, you will find brain breaks there. You like to even learn about diving and exercise, also inside there. Athletics and Ethiopian, also there. So any brain breaks, you will able to learn some culture, and also the music, the fun, and also adherence of exercise. Okay. So, any more question? Let me wait for maybe for a while. Okay. Yes, if you want, my email is basically Garry, GARRY, @usm or Garry Kwan, GARRY.KUAN @brunel.ac.uk. Okay? Yeah. So, okay. Q&A finish. So can I continue to chair the sessions? Prof. Rajesh, are you still there? Okay. So maybe my mobile phone. Okay. You can also find my mobile phone as well. Yeah, I already typed in the system. Yeah, you have to add a Malaysia code as well. Sorry. Okay, let me introduce my very good friend, Professor Henry Daut, from Philippines. Okay, so he's a very distinguished scholar. Professor Henry actually holds the Deputy National Directors at the National Grassroots Sports Development Program in Philippines. He's currently the Dean of Philippine Sports Institute, Philippine Sports Commissions. He holds a Master of Science Leadership and Management in Sports Psychology from the University of Oregon, USA in 1990. He holds Fulbright Hays Scholars from 1988 to 1990, and he's the former Dean of College of Sports, Physical Education and Recreation at Mindanao State University. Okay, so he will be presenting a title, very interesting titles, Stages of Exercise Behavior Change and Exercise Participation during COVID-19 pandemic among adult Filipinos. So I will pass the time to Professor Henry. Thank you.
Okay. Hello? Hello? Wow. What's happening here? Hello? Hello? Dr. Garry, can you hear me? Hello? No. Hello? Hello, Dr. Garry, can you hear me? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. Good afternoon to everyone, and I would like to thank the organizers of this very timely and relevant World Conference on Exercise Medicine, particularly to the global NCD activist, Dr. Jessie Lai, the very hardworking CEO of the World Conference on Exercise Medicine, Dr. Lee. Indeed, it is an honor and privilege to be part of this noble advocacy of promoting a healthy, strong, and productive world through exercise. So I am very happy to be part of this endeavor, and I would like to, how do I start? Okay, so is my slide okay? Yeah, okay, so allow me to start by welcoming everyone in this very significant gathering of sports, physical educators, coaches, and exercise practitioners around the world. And let me acknowledge my fellow professors from the Mindanao State University who participated in this study, Professors Myla Gallardo, Professor John Piliano, Gil Ebardo, Michelle Layao, Eva Marie Peralta, and Atrio Michael Sam Gallardo. I am from the Philippines, and my country is located
in Southeast Asia and comprised of 7,107 islands. And I lived in Mindanao, the second biggest island in the country, and a melting pot of diverse cultures of Muslims, Christians, and Lumads, or the indigenous people. Philippines actually is situated in a region where we are visited most of the time with natural calamities such as typhoon and earthquakes. And I think sports and exercise will play a very significant role in terms of providing the health benefits as well as the resilience. That's why I'm very happy with the presentation of Dr. Lim and also Dr. Garry Kwan, because given the chance to have a face-to-face conference in the future, we will be very happy that the World Exercise Medicine Conference will be held in our country to share the many beautiful knowledge and best practices for our people so that we can also strengthen the health and fitness of our nation. So I would like to give you an update to the present situation of COVID-19, since most of us are in this pandemic. Presently, the Philippines, with a population of 109,581,078, we have 371,630 cases. And then the active cases is at 36,333, with recoveries of 328,258 and deaths of 7,039. And we are very positive that in the coming days and months, the number of deaths and cases will go low, and with the proper practices of safety protocols, we will be able to contain or reduce the occurrence. Philippines, especially in the field of sports and physical education, is not very rich in terms of researches, and that is why opportunities to conduct studies and present in international or national conferences to share the data that we have gathered is very important, so that we can also learn as well as share what is happening in our country. And in our little contribution, we would like to share some information as to the exercise behaviors of our people in the Philippines, so that we can provide better intervention in making them healthier and fit to sustain their healthy living. So with that, I would like to say that during this pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic highlighted the importance of health and fitness, which indicates that health is vital to survival in terms of the virus, and exercise is very important to keep us healthy and fit at this time. Now, the Philippines has been experiencing different types of lockdown imposition. We have a more severe imposition where nobody is allowed to go out, to a more relaxed situation where people can go out and return to some form of business or activities. And during the lockdown, the communities are restricted from engaging in sports and physical activities that can somehow influence our ability to exercise and participate in sports-related events or activities. And we know that exercise and physical activity are recommended to promote health and fitness, as well as to strengthen immune system. So presently, the COVID pandemic has affected not only the life, the work, and also the businesses, but also how we participate in sports and physical activities. It should be noted that out of the many studies conducted, the Philippines is not much of an exercising nation. That's why I always feel that if given the chance, the World Conference on Exercise Medicine is very much important for us to bring to the Philippines, so that we can gather experts to convince people to promote the value of exercise as a form of medicine among our countrymen. And based on the studies conducted, the Filipino teens are among the worst in the world for physical activity, which means that many of our young generation are not into physical activity. And out of the 146 countries, when it comes to the level of physical activity, we are ranked at the bottom. So it's very alarming. And I think the physical educators, sports practitioners, and exercise medicine people can help in terms of addressing this problem. Also, further, the study indicated that 93.4% of school-going Filipinos, that means 17 to age, are lacking in physical activities. And that is actually influenced also by the presence of the gadgets that they can use, so that in exchange for exercising or doing physical activities, they are more into the use of the computer games. 93.4% of 92.8% boys are having insufficient physical activity, while among the girls, 92%, which is very, very high. So generally, if you look at the health status of the country, we are really in need of intervention to improve the quality of health and fitness of our people. In terms of exercise, Sun Life Financial Asia Health Index conducted a study in 2006, and they found out that most Filipino lack exercise. In fact, 61% of the mid-income Filipinos don't exercise regularly. And among Asian countries, we have the highest percentage of citizens who don't exercise regularly. And some of the reasons that they gave include lack of time, lack of personal motivation, and of course, distractions of modern life. And as Dr. Lim presented his lecture on exercise and happiness, I can just imagine that maybe we need to change how people view exercise, not as a form of work or exerting effort, but as a form of activity that will have benefits. So we can maybe change the perspective of individuals exercising and looking at the possibility of making an impact in our society. Health and exercise will greatly influence our ability to develop stronger people by giving them some forms of exercise programs that can change these statistics. Okay, so another one is that studies have shown, and the Ministry of Health of the Philippines revealed that the NCDs account for 68% of all deaths in the Philippines. So NCDs, the country is actually having some problems, especially in this type of illnesses. And the probability of dying between the ages of 30 and 70 are caused by one of the four main NCDs is 29%. So cancer, diabetes, and those diseases as a result of lack of activities are causing a great damage in terms of the health, but also causing more deaths in our country. Likewise, the economic cost of NCDs to the Philippine economy is reaching 756.5 billion per year, or equal to 4.8% of the total annual gross domestic product. And that means there will be more expenses or costs on healthcare as a result of this concern. The International Diabetes Foundation also presented a result that the Philippines is an emerging hotspot for diabetes and is among the top 15 countries in the world in terms of diabetes prevalence. So given this scenario, we, the group of researchers, tried to come up with a study that will somehow assess the exercise behavior and participation among adult Filipinos. There is not much study that can be shown in terms of how Filipinos develop their behaviors through on exercise. And so we try to find a way to determine how Filipinos' behavior on exercise in relation to their participation. So this is the main purpose of our study. And the Philippines, as I've said, because of the COVID-19, somehow generated interest in the need for health and fitness. And with the imposition, there is a need to be more creative in terms of exercising. And the thing is, with the presence of the quarantine, people are in their homes, and therefore they will have more time to think of how they can use exercise to become healthy and fit. Okay, so the purpose of the study is to determine the exercise participation and the states of exercise behavior change among adult Filipinos. And we gathered the following profile of the respondents: age, sex, marital status, employment status, as well as the stages of exercise behavior change among adult Filipinos. We did the survey using the online, the Google apps, and we made sure that we distribute as many as possible so we can gather enough results to come up with this study. So the samples are male and female adult Filipinos, 18 years old and above. And we use the convenience sampling using what is available through online, through Messenger and Facebook. The instruments that we use is by Marcos and Forsyth on exercise states of change. And we did a self-made questionnaire for exercise participation where we measure the frequency, the length of time, as well as the regularity of exercise. And we got 512 respondents, both male and female. And the result indicates the following. As to the age, majority of our respondents, or a high percentage of our respondents, are in the age of 28 to 37 years old, followed by those ages 18 to 27. And then third is from 38 to 48 years old, with only 9 or 1.8% of the respondents coming from the age bracket of 60 and above. And actually, our oldest is 65 years old. And in terms of the sex, we have more females. We have 284 respondents, or 55.5% of the total respondents are female, and 44.5% are male. In regards to the marital status, single 272, or 53.10%. Married people are respondents, 230 to, or 44.9%. And single parent or widowed consists of 2%. So this is the distribution in terms of the marital status. As to the employment, we have 397, 77.5% are employed. Only 22.5% are unemployed. Okay, as to the exercise behavior change, what's happening here? Okay, so exercise behavior change, the phases that we have to go through starts from pre-contemplation. So this is where we're not thinking seriously about making a change in our health behavior. So that means we don't care what's happening in our body. So we're not thinking of exercising. Then on the contemplation stage, because of some experiences on their health, they're now beginning to think about their behavior, that we're beginning to see that maybe there is a problem that's affecting our health. So they contemplate. Then we proceed to the determination or the preparation, realizing that something needs to change and we're ready to make changes, but we still don't know exactly how. So from there, you proceed to action. So we now know what we want to change. Maybe you have already conducted some research on what possible activities you want to do given your situation, or you have visited your doctor, and how we can change it, and we've got to plan to put into action. So this is the next stage. And finally, at the maintenance, the aim is for this to get a position where we can maintain the exercise behavior that we had to make a healthier lifestyle. And finally, in the relapse, that is where the states means you return to your normal or unhealthy habits, and therefore you go back to your old health status. So this is the cycle. And based on the result, the respondents pre-contemplation, we have 10 or 2% are still on the pre-contemplation. Then the contemplation stage, there are 83 respondents with 16.20%. On the preparation stage, 112 or 21.90%. For the decision action, that means they have decided and they have acted to do exercise, 22 or 400 or 4.30%. And it's very surprising what's happening here. It's very surprising that the maintenance stage is very high, which is 55.70% or 285. So based on the answers on the states of change that we have given them, they indicate that they are on this stage. However, at the result on how they exercise, in terms of regularity, what's happening? In terms of regularity of exercise, a lot or 57.40% have irregular exercise, which is 294. Only 38.70 are doing a regular exercise, with 20 participants who did not responded. Okay, so it's very interesting. Irregular is very high. And looking at the frequency of exercise, you notice that 2 times a week, what's happening? 2 times a week is the highest with 31.6%. 1 times a week, once a week is with 29.5%. And from 3 times a week, we have 91, 4 times 33, 5 times 37, 6 times 13, and there are 25 who exercise every day, which indicates that 61.1% of the total respondents are exercising below the minimum standard of 3 times a week as recommended by the World Health Organization, and only 38.9% are within the recommended exercise. So this is very interesting. And for the length of time, less than 30 minutes a week. What's happening here? Less than 30 minutes a week consists of 46.9%. 1 hour is 28.9, while 2 hours is 75, 3 hours, 26 respondents, and 4 hours and above, only 23. If you notice, 1 hour and 30 minutes is below the recommended World Health Organization 150 hours per week to gain benefits for exercise. So only 24.2 fall under the 3 times a week recommendation of more than 30 minutes a day of exercise. So that's the status. When we try to correlate the age, sex, and marital status to the independent variable of stages of exercise behavior change, sex has a correlation which is significant at 0.035. And this is indicated by the increase in the women's participation in exercise, wherein they have shown higher maintenance status. For the moderating variables and exercise participation, physical activity engagement, sex is significantly correlated, and I've said that female are more into exercising than male, while the rest, regularity, frequency of exercise, and length of time has no correlation. So overall, so the frequency and length of time has a positive correlation with the stages of exercise behavior change. That means the higher the frequency of participation in exercise, the higher the level of exercise change, or meaning they're in the maintenance stage. Likewise, in the length of time, the longer the participation in exercise, the higher the level of exercise behavior. So the findings indicate that 40.1% are in the pre-contemplation to preparation stage, which means there are a lot of respondents who are not yet into action. That means they are still thinking. Some are not even considering of exercising. However, it's very interesting to note also that 55.7 of the respondents that were surveyed are already in the maintenance stage, which means they are exercising. However, 57.4% are exercising irregularly. That means it's not regular. It can be sometimes 3 times, sometimes 2, sometimes 1. And given the number of hours recommended by World Health Organization, so 75.8% did not meet the required number of hours per week of exercise, which is 30 minutes a day, to gain much benefit from exercising. And 61.1% are exercising below the minimum standard of 3 times. And the findings show that age and sex are significantly correlated with stages of exercise behavior change, which increase in age also increase in the change from pre-contemplation to maintenance. And that female showed higher level of exercise behavior. Okay. And the frequency and length of time of exercise are significantly correlated with the states of exercise behavior. So these are the findings that we have gotten from the research, and the conclusion that from among the respondents that we have surveyed, the minimum recommended exercise engagement for health benefits is not met. That means the frequency and the length of time. And of course, regularity of exercise engagement is not also observed. And that knowing the states of change on exercise behavior can help develop strategies to progress from pre-contemplation to maintenance in order to promote health and fitness. If you notice, there is no study yet being presented in the Philippines as to what are the stages most Filipinos are in terms of exercise. So this, I'm not sure if this is the first of its kind that we have conducted, and hopefully we will be able to have some more to gather a more comprehensive data on the exercise behavior, not only of the adult Filipinos, but maybe of college students, elementary and senior citizens. So the recommendation that we would like to have is there is a need to promote regular exercise to develop health and fitness, as well as strengthen immune system to combat illness and pandemic. While there are so many videos that you can watch, promotion of exercises, but the situation in the country wherein most people are working and the level of income, there is a need to make a change in terms of how we view exercise, because if exercise is viewed as something that you have to spend rather than something that you have to create, especially time, then we might be able to change the perception that exercise is fun, just like what Dr. Lim had said. We need to make sure that people understand that the benefits of exercise go beyond the sweating of the body to produce the gain, but also the fun and enjoyment in participating in exercise. Second, we need to develop at this time of the pandemic an online exercise programs that will fit the Filipinos so that they can participate during the pandemic either individually or with the members of their families. So there is a need maybe to have an exercise program that will encourage Filipinos to do exercise at home, because most of us at present are relying on what we see on the videos already uploaded that sometimes can be challenging. Next is we need to enhance awareness on exercise behavior change for better understanding on our exercise participation. Because if we do not know at what stage we are in, we will not be able to develop the programs so that we can move from one stage to the other until we reach the maintenance stage, to come up with the desired result of being healthy and being fit. And finally, we recommend that promote the exercise medicine as the cheapest medication for healthy living. We don't need to spend money if we are healthy. We can gain benefits of health and fitness through exercise. And I think this should be promoted to a very wider population so that we can encourage more Filipinos to exercise, because this is the cheapest way of reducing cost for hospitalization, for medication. And exercise, as we know, can be done in many ways without spending so much on the equipment, the attire, and among others. And finally, I would like to say that from this study, we would like to continue learning on what intervention programs can we give from the College of Spear so that we can contribute in giving awareness, appreciation, and encouraging action for people to exercise not only at home, but also in the communities. So thank you very much for listening. Let us stay fit and healthy through exercise medicine, the cheapest medication for healthy living. So thank you very much. Hello? Hello, Dr. Garry.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, thank you for unmuting me. Thank you, Professor Henry, for interesting talk on exercise behavioral change and also exercise participation, especially during this COVID-19 pandemic. Maybe let me start with just a simple question. Is there any initiative from the governments to promote more exercise in the Philippines, especially during this COVID-19?
Yeah, the government, through the Department of Health, actually had initiated the Hataw Bayan Hataw. It means move.
Okay.
This is a form of exercise using activities like dance and movements to encourage people to participate. However, just like other programs that is not very much supported, it died a natural death. So not many are into the program. Also, the University of the Philippines has developed an exercise program, and they are actually encouraging a lot of people to participate in this, especially during pandemic.
Wow.
In our case at MSU, we have a regular exercise program at the university every week, Saturday, wherein people from the community come to the complex and participate in a physical fitness led by the College of Spear faculty and students. So that's the program that we do. But generally, I think we don't have a specific body or organization that really pushes the implementation of a general exercise program for all Filipinos. So hopefully we can have that.
Thank you for the sharing. Okay, maybe Filipinos can also try to use brain breaks.
Yeah, actually, Dr. Garry, I was thinking that we will apply the brain breaks for a study among Muslim elementary kids. I have already discussed this with one of the schools near our campus, but because of the COVID, we were not able to continue the discussion because we see the value of brain breaks to give opportunity for kids to have some break before another subject. So hopefully, if we can return to the normal situation, we will be contacting you on how we can implement brain breaks within the school system in the area. So I think that's very nice.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm looking forward for it.
Yeah.
Any other question? Maybe we can open up for Q&A.
Yeah, there's one here. You have mentioned that lack of time is one of the reasons why most Filipinos do not exercise. How then you motivate them to engage in exercise? Thank you very much, Sir Renan Tigiron, for this question. Basically, when in our country, we have this saying, if you want it, if you don't want it, you have many reasons, okay? But if you want it, you can find a reason. So what I mean is, sometimes we think of exercise as a work, a need to exert so much effort to gain benefits. So second, sometimes we look at exercise as a one-time activity and then we see result. So all these factors somehow create a perception that if you don't see any improvement in 1 or 2 days that you are doing it, then it's not working. Second, I think there's a need to consider that we should value exercise for health, for fitness, and for productivity, among others. Then maybe we will change our perception that we need to set aside a time. The present situation, if you look at the TV, the YouTube, you are bombarded with exercise programs that are looking great. Women and men in very good attire, the equipment are very good, so that people are more concerned about, well, it is very expensive to exercise then, because you see those advertisements. But if we consider promoting walking as a good form of exercise, that's not expensive. You don't need to buy anything. All you have to have will be good walking shoes and simple attire. But we need to promote exercise in a different way, wherein it is not more on the commercial aspect of exercise, where you go to the gym, you go to the fitness center, but you make use of what is available in the community, what is available at home that people can make use of so that they can go and exercise.
Mm.
There's another question here, Adli. What is your suggestion on how to enhance the awareness and behavior on exercise behavior change? I think when we do activities, it is important that we monitor, or we start to set objectives. We monitor by documenting. That means we record how many hours, how many minutes, or how many days, okay, and what type of activities. Because if we don't do record keeping, we don't do monitoring, we will not be able to assess whether we are improving on the basis of what exercise activities we are. And if we record, we will see the behavior pattern. Is it regular? Is it consistent to what we want to achieve? So that doing thus, the plan of exercising and changing our behavior from not exercising to maintenance, there will be a reason. That means you know that you need to do 3 times a week. Are you doing it? If you want to have a maintenance level, if you don't monitor, you just do exercise when you want it, when you feel so, but you are not able to document it. You will not see a pattern that you are doing it regularly, you are improving. That means there is a need to set goals, there is a need to document or record, so that you can evaluate at the end whether what you are doing is also improving your physical fitness or health.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe one more question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any guideline of exercise that can be used by the public? I think the World Health Organization and even your country's ministry is also giving us guidelines. And 3 times a week of 30 minutes is okay, regularity. And World Health says 150 minutes of moderate activities can give you benefits in terms of exercise, or 75 of vigorous activities can do that. Dr. Lim said you can start with 10 minutes and progress to increasing the amount of time daily or every other day. And by the way, when we talk about exercise, it's not always in the morning or in the afternoon. Anytime that you are free, you can make use of that as a set or a block of time that you can use to exercise. In fact, schools and offices are recommending use the elevator, use that stair instead of the elevator as a form of exercise, even at work. Walk to the school if it is near, and don't ride. So these are actually some information that we can use in encouraging people to exercise. And for us in the Philippines, there is a guideline that was created. However, I think it is not well promoted in terms of awareness among people. So we need to really push in terms of promotion, encouragement, so that people are aware, oh, this is the kind of program that we would like to have in our community, in our country, to gain these benefits of health and fitness among our people. Yeah, last? No more.
Yeah.
Okay.
One more.
Yeah, I don't know if there's one. Yes, frequency of exercise and length is very important, because no amount of exercising for 1 hour and then the rest of the week you don't exercise. I mean, it will just make your muscles sore. We need to distribute it so that we have some form of regularity, consistency in order to gain the benefits. And make sure that you understand that benefits does not happen overnight just because you exercise so much. So we need to be patient. We need to understand that development of our muscles, our physical body takes time, and therefore we need to be consistent and we need to be regular. So it's more on adherence. Exercise adherence is vital to change. So that's all I think I have answered.
Thank you so much, Professor Dr. Henry from Philippines. Please join me together to give a virtual applause.
Thank you very much.
Professor Dr. Henry, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Next, we are proud to introduce a renowned speaker, Dr. Nurashikin bin Ibrahim from the Ministry of Health Malaysia. Dr. Nurashikin is the public health physician and the sector head of mental health, substance abuse and violent injury prevention, disease control division from the Ministry of Health Malaysia. She is currently the head coordinator of the mental health and psychosocial support services of the Ministry of Health. Her expertise include mental health promotion, mental health services, and psychosocial support, disaster and suicide prevention. Dr. Nurashikin received her training in psychosocial response to disaster from the Hyogo Institute of Traumatic Stress, Japan. She also received her training in mental health promotion and mental health prevention from the Hunter Institute of Mental Health, Australia. And now I will pass the time to Dr. Nurashikin to share us on her topic, exercise and depression. Are you ready, Dr. Nurashikin? Are you there?
Assalamualaikum and a very good day to everyone. I'm Dr. Nurashikin Ibrahim, or Dr. N. I'm a public health physician and sector head for mental health, substance abuse and violence injury prevention of Disease Control Division of Ministry of Health. Today I'm going to talk about exercise and mental health, the relation of exercise and its relation of how it impacts our mental health. Firstly, if you talk about mental health, everybody has mental health. Mental health is not mental illness. It's basically a state of well-being in which upon an individual realizes his or her potentials, they can cope with the normal stresses of life every day, and they can work productively as well as contribute to the community. So basically upon this definition of mental health, it's a very important aspect of a general well-being upon which you need to include the capacity of enjoying life as well as engage in a relationship satisfactory. And mostly when a person is mentally healthy, you can say that a person is basically, they are very comfortable with themselves. they are also comfortable with other people and they can accept life challenges. And it's basically upon which a person relates to their environment, relates to oneself and others around them. So if you talk about a little bit on the global burden, disease burden, basically the global disease burden is projected that by the year 2020, which is this year, unipolar major depression is basically going to rank second below ischemic heart disease. I think a lot of people know about this fact. And worldwide, more than 200 million people is basically may suffer from depression at any point of one time in their life. And Malaysia is basically not spared. And if you look at the mental health burden of Malaysia, we have an increased trend in mental health problems as reported in the year 2015, which was 29.2%, upon which about 3 out of 10 Malaysians above 16 years old would probably have some sort of mental health problems. And however, in the year 2019, which was last year, the National Health and Mobility Survey, which actually yielded the prevalence of depression was 2.3% among those Malaysian or rakyat Malaysia above 16 years of age. And if you look at the outcome of depression is one of the mental disorder, because we have lots of mental disorders and we have a spectrum of mental health problems. However, the outcome like suicidal behavior is also seen in the increasing trend, especially among the younger age group. And having said that, I think we need to actually define what is mental health problems. Mental health problems basically happens when a person has some disturbances of emotional or feelings that can actually result in their functional life disturbances or compromise, but it does not to a certain extent reaches the diagnosis of mental illness. However, mental illness is an illness that is due that is related to the disturbances in the function of the brain that causes serious disturbances in their thinking, emotions, and also behavior. And a person with mental illness sometimes cannot function and cannot go through life challenges without help. But however, mental illness is treatable. That is one of the things that I would like you to know. And the spectrum of mental disorder, before we go into how does exercise relate to mental health, we have things like depression disorders, anxiety disorders, panic attack, things mentally ill in relation to substance abuse, and the serious mental disorders that can have psychotic features, for example, like schizophrenia or bipolar. And suicide is the outcome of mental health problems or mental disorder that can happen to anyone who is at risk. And if we go back to why is there a need to relate between exercise and mental health, the entry point is basically we're talking about stress, which can happen to anyone for any reason for that matter because of our multiple roles in life. For example, we can be parents, we can be children, we can be workers, and it is so important that we need to manage our stress effectively. So the excessive stress in simple ways, in simple explanation, can lead to anxiety and depression if we do not manage them well. However, there are in some instances because causes of depression can be due to many causes. And if you look at the mechanism of stress reaction, stress basically in a very small amount or moderate amount is basically good. However, depending on the fight or flight response, the adrenaline surge can actually cause a person to have compromised strain on coping skills and basically is either resolved or you can actually suffer from psychological breakdown. And you need a little amount of stress because an optimum amount to make you function. So that's quite, I think everyone basically knows that. However, you have excessive stress, you can lead to basically a very decrease in performance if you do not manage it well. And These are among, if I could translate, these are among the factors that contributes to the mental illness, basically disturbances in the chemical disturbances in your brain. The mental illness can also be contributed to genetic factors. So basically there is no single cause why a person can develop mental illness, and a person usually can develop mental illness or is prone or even at risk if they actually go through a very tragic life events, you know. And socio-economy, low socio-economic status like poverty, you know, there is no basic needs, trauma, for example, like they have actually been abused when they were small, you know, they go through these life events, tragic and very very difficult life events. But one of the things, number 6 there, is basically the way that unhealthy lifestyle that someone or anyone actually experience or actually go through, the unhealthy lifestyles. And one of the other things is based on all the other factors that have been listed there, there is also a contribution if there is no social support or very, very little social support for a person. So basically, I would like to talk a little bit about depression so that we understand why that we need to actually correlate exercise and mental health. Sad is very, very is a normal thing, but basically when you have an incidence of sadness, persistent sadness, or feeling of empty mood, or feeling of low mood, and there's lots of interest in the things that you love to do or things that you once find enjoyable and interesting for more than 2 weeks, coupled with the other factors like loss of emotional expression, loss of appetite and loss of weight, sleeping disturbances is one of the main thing that actually can be a signs of early depression, and feeling of hopelessness and also suicidal behavior. So basically these are among the signs and symptoms that a person can be depressed, and should warn anybody that around you that actually you can be able to detect this in a person that you love, or among friends or among family members. And however, these are among the things that you can treat. For example, you can have psychotropics, you can have medicine, you need counseling, you know, because depression is treatable, you know, and it can be prevented to a certain extent if we can actually focus also and on improving our lifestyles. So one of the things, if you look at lifestyle modification, we are actually emphasizing on managing stress. And basically one of the things when you want to manage stress is having exercise in part of your daily routine, and adequate sleep, and also healthy eating. So the 4 pillars of healthy lifestyle that we have actually promoted way beyond, I think in the year as early as 2000 in Malaysia, is basically healthy eating, physical activity, which includes exercise, managing stress effectively, and no smoking. Okay, so basically you also need to obtain and reach out and talk to someone that you trust when you basically, that is one of the part of road to depression recovery, in addition to whatever medication. If there is a need to take medication, that means you need to see a professional. So basically when we want to manage our mental health, there is a need to cope with stress, and you need to become aware of your stresses. For example, what are the things that might be telling you, your body might be telling you that you're tired, your body might be telling you that you are angry because you're stressful, you may be down and things like that. How the stress affects your body, you need to know as a particular individual. So you can't ignore those particular symptoms. Yeah? And these are one of the things, although it is in Bahasa Malaysia, I could say that these are among 10 Bs. The Bs includes for bersyukur, that means to be thankful about what we have in life, you know, and The next one is actually to breathe. You need to learn about breathing and relaxation techniques. So the other ones, number 9, is basically to exercise. Exercise in Malay is called bersenam. So how does exercise help? Okay, exercise has been shown, there are many evidence-based, or there are many studies to show that exercise can improve the treatment outcomes for patients who suffer from depression. One of the studies that has been conducted by McNeil JK and also his colleagues, basically looking into a community dwelling moderately depressed men and women, that they were asked to perform exercise consisting of walking 20 to 40 minutes 3 times per week for the next 6 weeks. And this research outcome found that this exercise program, because some of them were actually put into control studies, and they found that this program has alleviated overall symptoms of depression, and they were actually put into 3 groups, and was more effective than the other 2 groups in reducing somatic symptoms of depression. So basically the results indicate that in short term, exercise has a broader effect as compared to the control conditions in reducing depressive symptoms. So there was also another study to show that exercise, if you see in the graph, the bar graph, this is a long-term impact of exercise versus medication on depression. Here we must be clear that we are not substituting exercise to medication. So if you have depression, you need to seek help, you need to reach out, you need to see a professional to identify and to diagnose whether you do have a major depressive disorder, or even you do have mental disorder. So in looking about the effects of exercise and mental health, so basically this is a long-term impact of exercise. So basically we look at the clinical status at 10 months after treatment. So compare with the participants in the other conditions, the exercise condition was more likely to be partially or fully recovered, and basically less likely to have relapse. So basically, if you look about exercise is basically an addition. If you're already on medication, you need to combine between medication, supportive psychotherapy, and also exercise and counseling, and any other treatment for that matter. And why does exercise? Why do you need to exercise? Basically, it is an addition to medication and counseling. If a person has been diagnosed to have depression, it does not mean that they just need to take the medication, but they also need to exercise, because physical activity stimulates the neurotransmitters, or what we call as norepinephrine, which improves your mood, because basically in depressive symptoms, you get low mood, you don't feel like talking to anyone. So by doing exercise, for example by walking, by doing other physical activities, you engage this physical activity, it has proven that it distracts one from a stressful condition and gives a person to focus on the positive thoughts and acquiring new skill instead of focusing on stress conditions and negative thoughts. So basically, when a person feels down, I would basically recommend you put on your sports shoe or very comfortable shoes and start walking. Exercise can also have the benefit of to slow and stop weight gain, without denial. Basically, when you exercise, it produces endorphins and it relieves the stress and it improves mood. Okay, the benefits of exercise on mental health. If you look at these benefits of exercise on mental health, there are many benefits just by doing 20 to 30 minutes a day. Spending outdoor in nature can significantly reduce your cortisol level. So the cortisol level is the level that causes stress. Increased cortisol level, increased stress. Okay, so at the same time, if you look at the how do you actually get increased energy level? Because the feel-good phenomenon, when you release the endorphin, when you do exercises, basically release the endorphins, and it causes the increase in the happy hormones, and it improves your mood because and in addition, when you go out, that means when you exercise, most of the time we advise that you exercise outside of your house facility or outside of a building. So basically, or even you can actually exercise in the building, for example using treadmill, but sometimes going outside and being exposed to natural light, being exposed to nature has been shown to actually be conducive, and it actually helps in terms of improving higher self-esteem, causing a person to experience better mood, combined with the green exercise. That means you see green things, okay? And of course, in actual fact, it can reduce the stress, it can reduce depression, you know, all these benefits of exercise, and it improves sleeps. And basically, it helps a person to increase their mood and being more, they can interact better with other people. So a person or yourself, and even myself, needs to allocate time to exercise. We have only 24 hours, we need to find time to exercise, preferably for a person with chronic medical conditions like diabetes, hypertension, or even mental illness is also a chronic condition. They need to allocate time for exercise because you need to find time. You can't say that you have no time. So basically things like swimming, going to the gym, you know, even dancing, things like doing Zumba, walking, just brisk walking, badminton, depending on your capability of exercising. So some people may have problems with their knees, some people may have problems with their back, you know, but however, you need to find time to exercise, whether be it to burn your calorie and also to improve self-esteem. And it can make your body feel revitalized and your mood becomes better. However, there is no need to compete with one another. There is no need to break the speed and endurance record. Just moving at a steady pace for half an hour regularly, minimum of 3 times a week. You can even do it every day, short exercises. And basically the others needs to be coupled. It's not just exercise alone. To help with mental health, to have a good mental health, you need to have all the other things, for example like going for recreational activity, and one of the most important thing is actually to think positive, to look into positive aspects in whatever situation that is perceived negative to you. So basically try to learn about positive thinking and other mental health life skills, for example like problem solving, making decisions, making good decisions, problem solving, good interpersonal communication, controlling your anger. These are all the skills that needs to be learned on top of just exercising, because when you talk about exercise, we know that there are so many evidence-based studies to show that exercise do have an impact on positive mental health. And finally, nurturing social support, for example, like having good relationships with peers. So all these things, for example, like sharing your feelings, that is part of your 10B. That means kongsikan perasaan, share your feelings with people that you trust, and avoid having ill feelings in yourself, because that is not good for mental health. So exercise helps you to think positive. Exercise helps you because it reduces cortisol, it increases endorphins, or some studies we have shown to say that it increases endocannabinoids, one of the 5 factors that can actually helps in increasing mood. And to achieve good mental health, you have to learn about a few things. For example, like a balanced meal, good nutrition, diet, exercise, sleep. So all those pillars of healthy lifestyles coupled with good social support and talking therapies, yeah, and also learning about relaxation and breathing techniques can achieve good mental health. So exercise is one of the main component that cannot be ignored and cannot be, you cannot just brush it away. So it's very important that you exercise. So one of the things that is coming up is basically, I think we know that this month in October, 10th of October is the World Mental Health Day, with the theme of Mental Health for All. Yeah? And for Malaysia, we have actually chosen mental health. Let's talk Minda Sehat. Talk means that you tell someone, T stands for tell someone about your problem, A you mean ask for help, L is listen without judgment, and K is know where to seek help. You know when to seek help and where to seek help when you are having mental health issues. So basically we are encouraging Green Walk Challenge. This is also part of physical activity. In this PKPP or control movement disorder, I think a lot of everyone is actually being there is some impact for everyone in terms of emotionally, yeah, in terms of our pandemic COVID-19. So basically when we want to do this Green Walk Challenge, you must follow the SOP. And however, this Green Walk Challenge is basically something that we want to advocate in terms of encouraging people to actually walk, and see the nature. And it's part of exercise because you also walk with the people that you love and the people that you care about. So do hashtag Let's Talk Minda Sehat, yeah, and being positive, because having exercising and do actually reduces your worry, yeah. It improves your stability of your emotions, improve your self-esteem. So basically it's all there. It prevents depression and anxiety. So one of the things that we encourage is to talk out your problems with people that you trust as a start, and exercise is one of them that you can actually do in the journey to achieve good mental health and in the journey of depression recovery. So basically these are among the things that you can do. These are among the things that I do. You have passion in doing in exercising. Basically you have lots of benefits, and exercise definitely has a good impact on mental health. With that, I thank you, Dr. Nurashikin Ibrahim.
Okay. Hi, Dr. Garry, everyone who's here. I think thank you very much for the invitation to participate in this conference. And I think probably correct me if I'm wrong, there was this last statement about movement control order, not movement control disorder. Anyway, I've got questions here. Okay, somebody would like to ask Ahmad, is it? I believe that it's not easy to get people with depression to do exercise. Can you share a few tips on how to talk and persuade them? So basically, I think for people with depression, especially if they are in their down in the moods of the probably they're feeling down and things like that, I think the social support or the psychological support from the family is very important, and the friends. So one of the things is basically to also persuade them to help them. That means to be together doing the exercise. Probably start by walking walking and actually talking to them about how important exercise is and things like that. And that would be a little bit that would be a challenge actually, but I think it can be done, because especially when a person shows that they do care about your family member or your friends, who are having depression, so you can in that long run to actually persuade them slowly and to bring them out to actually even not to exercise, but at first maybe you can start by going to look at the greens, so to get that, as a start. because it's not going to be easy, but I always believe that the support that we give to the people with depression can actually help them to improve their life better. So Nur Shahdatul Nabila, yes, hi Shahdatul. Salam, I would like to ask, most of our youth generations having problems with depression. One of the reasons due to too much flat screen exposure, and this cause other matter arising like symptoms of autism, unable to express their emotions. How long do a child need to actively exercise or physical activity in a day? Because I believe below 6 years activity that stimulate the motor and important. Is there any study focusing on children below 6 years active physically may affect their emotions? Focusing on children below 6 years active physically may affect their emotions and specifically can reduce the chances to develop depression. So I think without doubt, Shahidatul, basically when a child is actually early childhood education is very important, and I think one of the things that the Ministry of Education needs to impart is actually to do physical activity. It's not just exercise, physical activity. So basically, in Malaysia, one of the policy that the Ministry of Education has taken up is one child to have one sukan, one, what do you call that? Yeah, I'm sort of jammed here because
One child, one sport.
yes, sorry. Okay, one child, one sport. See how stressed I am, Gary. Okay, one child, one sport. Yeah. So basically, that is one of the policy that Ministry of Education has developed, and of course, I think bringing the child out to actually play, and also that actually stimulates the motor and sensory skills. So one of the things is actually for parents, in terms of parenting, to ensure that these young children do not just focus on playing games on screen, because I'm sure there's a lot of you have PS5, PS4 or whatsoever, but basically having outdoor activities, going back to the greens, and going to the playgrounds, that improves, and in terms of actually improves their emotions and also reduce chances, yes, of getting mental health issues. Dr. Nurashikin, I have a question. Doctor, for example, in competition during the middle of the game, the athlete gets injured. At that time, the athlete will get nervous and more. Yes. So what is the question? Jivitra. Maybe, okay, if a person, get injured, of course, you will get anxious because you either can continue or cannot continue the competition. So I think one of the things that, when a person get injured, of course, you have to look at the physical injury first, whether they can continue or not. So the nervous part of it or the anxiety part of it need to be dealt with probably later, because I think anyone, if you get injured, of course, one of the things you're worried that you can't continue the competition and you will get disqualified. So depression among athletes as they are already very active. Yes, I think depression among athletes, these are one of the things that we need to venture into, because actually in our athletes in Malaysia, they do have program in terms of counseling services, especially to ensure the mental health. That means the athletes do have to some extent an optimum mental health, because they need a strong mental health to be able to be resilient, because sometimes, most of the time, these athletes, of course, they go through failures, or even when they don't win a competition, the expectation is very high. So I think one of the things that we need to actually educate the athletes is about resilience, the skills of bouncing back up even if you have lost in a game. So depressions among athletes, yes, they do have everybody has depression. It doesn't matter whether you're athletes, you can have depression. For example, if your skills are not good enough in terms of coping, you can develop depression without the social support. So basically, one of the things that I feel that among athletes, you need to give them the appropriate coping skill, but somehow or other, there must be measures to actually support these athletes in terms of their emotions. Okay, are there any outcome measure to identify level of stress? Level of stress, usually you can measure using a lot of screening tools, for example, like depression, anxiety, stress scales here. Elderly depression usually results, Kalai, basically from loneliness, because as you grow older, and even in this COVID pandemic status, when you are getting older, everyone is getting older day by day. Nobody gets younger, but that loneliness, probably worried that your family or your children might leave you because you're married, and then worried that you are not being cared for, so basically those are the things that elderly can suffer. And exercise, yes, because I think even if you're an elderly person, you still need to do an exercise depending on your capacity. So of course you need to know what is your capability and what kind of exercises, because of course when you're elderly you don't go for Zumba, so you need to know what kind of exercise. But I think for elderly, I'm also in approaching the elderly. I'm already half a century of age. So basically, you need to be very careful when you do exercise. You need to choose what kind of exercise you do. Is house cleaning? Wow, so much questions. House cleaning considered a viable exercise option for people who suffer from depression? Yes. I think not just depression, but people with low mood. I find that personally, for myself, I love to do housework because it actually alleviates my stress. Sometimes you channel the stress into doing house cleaning. Exercise can, but if there is a mild moderate, you lack the initiative to take part in sports, and if the external environment organization helps, such as running with others, would be better. Okay, first thing, Shan, I'm answering to you. Yes, if there is a mild or moderate depression, you need to first get an assessment whether you need medication or not. As I said, exercise is not a substitute, but external environment or organization can actually encourage exercise. For example, in Ministry of Health, we have the program what we call as X break. So meaning when we have a long meeting like this, you're supposed to probably get up and and do some exercises, and stretch and things like that. So basically, it's about like 5 minutes or even 10 minutes break, where we call X break. You can even put music and then you can dance to the song, but in terms of exercise, So that is one of the things that you can do. So organization does help in improving and putting up the policy there. Any breathing techniques to reduce anxiety and stress? I think Dr. K. Romeo, wow. Breathing techniques, basically, Dr. K, what I've learned is, of course, I always use the deep breathing exercise, like just breathe and you can count, you hold your belly, because your diaphragm will actually lower down, and then you count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Breathe in with your nose and exhale with your mouth. A lot of people say exhale with the nose, but I find it's very difficult and struggling. So you exhale with your mouth. So deep breathing technique is something that you can look upon. Progressive muscle relaxation. It depends on how the person look at it. But to me, whenever you're panicking, whenever you're having anxiety, and whenever you are angry, you just okay. So that okay.
Okay. I think I should stop you now.
Okay. I think compulsory subject like compulsory exercise 5 minutes daily to be introduced at all the places. We have introduced that in the Ministry of Health, but now it's actually pushing the agenda to actually be introduced to other agencies in schools to be implemented. So I think that's about it.
Yep. Okay, brilliant. Thank you so much, Dr. Nurashikin. From the Ministry of Health Malaysia. Thank you again. And please join me again to give a virtual applause to Dr. Nurashikin. Thank you so much. Okay, last but not least, let's welcome Mr. Kean Mun from the University of Nottingham. So let me introduce him. Mr. Lee is currently a postgrad student at the University of Nottingham. Recently, he just completed his bachelor in psychology at the University of Nottingham with the first class honor. So he also received the Dean Excellence Scholarship Award by the university in 2017 and 2019. So Mr. Lee had developed the 5 personality database for the Malaysian university student during his internship for his final year project. So today he will be sharing his topic with the title, The Directive Functions of Autobiographical Memory, Recalling Positive Memories Increases Exercise Activity. Thank you. Let's pass the time to Mr. Kean Mun. Thank you.
All right, hello everybody. So for a quick introductory to the study itself, right, basically what my team and I have found was that recalling positive personal motivational memories with regards to exercise can actually increase one's own exercise activity as well. Now, some people may be asking, like, why are we doing this in the first place? Well, what we do know is that time and time again, the living of sedentary lifestyles or not exercising at all can cause a variety of health complications as seen from all these studies right here. These complications can include ischemic heart diseases or even mental health issues as well. We all know that this is the case, so there have been quite a number of methods put in place to help combat this, such as media campaigns or education on the benefits of exercise. However, with the increase of ischemic heart diseases on a global scale, it can be said that these efforts aren't really effective, if anything. So I would actually like to draw our attention to this study here by Biondolilo and Pilamer to help combat this problem. What they actually did was they asked participants to recall personal memories that was either positive, negative, or no memory at all. And all of these memories, right, were with regard to exercise. What they found out was that after 1 week, there was an overall increase in exercise across the board, with the largest being found in the positive condition, and then smaller increases found in the negative, followed by the control condition. So based on this study, right, what we now know is that the recollection of personal memories or autobiographical memories can serve as a motivator to increase one's own exercise activity. So now then, I'd like to ask this question. What if we included something else more personalized? What if we included one's own personality into the mix? How does this affect motivation or the utilization of autobiographical memory as a motivator? Now, before I go on further into this, right, I would actually like to explain a few key terms, for example, autobiographical memory and personality as well. With regards to autobiographical memory, this is basically memory involving the recollection of one's own experiences, so your personal memories in general. Autobiographical memory has 3 core functions, the first being the self, which is where we use memories to reflect on our own memories, to form a coherent perception of ourselves all the time. There's a social function of autobiographical memory, and this is where we use memories to help nurture and maintain relationships. You know, where you talk with one another about your past experiences, so you can get closer. And last but not least, there's the directive function. Now, this is where we use memory and we sort of update them and reinterpret previous events that we've experienced so that we can guide our future decisions. I would like to focus on this quite often, or I would like to focus on this mainly as we are actually using memory in this study to influence future decisions and behaviors. Now, with regards to personality, right, I would like to be focusing on the Big 5 model of personality in particular. Now, this is the most commonly used model of personality in the field of psychology. There are 5 aspects to it, but for the sake of the study, we'll be only focusing on 3: extroversion, conscientiousness, and neuroticism. Now, with regards to extroversion, I'm pretty sure everybody would know what an extrovert is. Basically, they are people who are active, energetic, and outgoing. With its relation to exercise, right? And these are people who tend to like to do group sports or high adrenaline activities. And interestingly enough, extroverts are also people who like muscle training as well. With regards to conscientiousness, these are people who are efficient, organized, and reliable. With regards to its relation to exercise, these are people who have good cost-benefit analysis. In other words, they are more likely to be able to understand the benefits of exercising much better compared to the regular person. They are also better at sticking to regimes like exercise plans. And last but not least, we also have neuroticism. Now, this is characterized by people who are anxious, nervous, or sad most of the time. And with its relation to exercise, right? These are people who may feel afraid of others because they're intimidated by, all the muscular or active people in the gym or in group sports or activities. And also in general, they may have a very low mood or energy to exercise. So while personality has its interactions with exercise, right, it has some with memory as well. For example, with regards to extroverts, they tend to capitalize on the social function of autobiographical memory more often, as they use personal memories for the use in conversations. And neurotics tend to capitalize on the self and directive functions more often. And this is because, they tend to ruminate and dwell on the past very often. So now with all this being set aside, right, the current study here is actually examining the effects of Big 5 personality traits on memory interventions in Malaysian university students. What this means is that I'm examining if one's personality would influence the effects of the memory recalling intervention. The one where I asked them to recall a memory about past experiences with exercise and see if they were to exercise after that. This will be basically observed through changes in their exercise activity after 1 week of the initial session and 1 month after that too. So with regards to the procedures, right, we actually got 119 participants, or rather 119 students from the University of Nottingham. Their age ranges from 18 to 29. With regards to the procedures, basically we asked participants to fill an array of questionnaires pertaining to their views and motivations for exercise and their current exercise levels as well. We also gave them a prompt to recall a personal memory with regards to exercise. As you can see in the slide over here, right, we basically asked people to recall a particular memory where they felt pleased or displeased and satisfied or dissatisfied during or after some type of physical exercise activity. This must be a motivational memory as well, because that's what's necessary for this particular experiment. Because if they were to recall any other random type of memory, we're not really sure if it will provoke exercise. But anyways, so for the second week, we gave them the same set of questionnaires pretty much, except with the addition of the Big 5 inventory. This is to evaluate their personality. And also we checked up on their motivation strategies, how they motivated themselves to further exercise. We also included the question where we asked if they actually used the memory prompt to recall, if they actually used the memory prompt to further motivate themselves, in order to check if they actually did consciously capitalize on it. 1 month later, after the second session, we gave them the same set of questionnaires again to evaluate their exercise levels. Now, based on the results, right, or based on the data that we have gathered, we actually conducted 3 one-way between subjects and ANOVAs to compare the changes in exercise activity between all the memory conditions. So positive memories, negative memories, and no memories at all. This was done 3 times with regards to all the time frames, the first, second, and overall. I'll go into this a little bit more into detail later, so don't worry too much about it. So for the first time frame, right, this is between sessions 1 and 2. It had a duration of about 1 week. And what we actually found was that there was a significant effect of conditions, so memory conditions, between, with regards to their exercise levels, changes in exercise activity. Conducting a post hoc comparison on this with Bonferroni corrections, what we actually found, as you can see in the graph here, was that people in the positive memory recall condition had much larger increases in their exercise activity in comparison to those in the negative memory recall condition. Now, with regards to the second time frame, which is between sessions 2 and 3, now this lasted a total of 1 month, there weren't any significant effects with regards to conditions on the changes in exercise activity. However, with regards to the overall time frame, we did find a significant effect of conditions. Conducting a post hoc again with Bonferroni corrections, as you can see in the graph over here, what we actually found was that people in the positive condition exercise far more in comparison to those in the negative conditions. And we can also see there's quite a fair bit of difference as well with regards to the positive and control conditions. So apart from that, right, with regards to valence of memories, we also conducted a hierarchical linear regression to examine if any of the components particularly affected the change in exercise activity. mainly this was to examine if personality affected this intervention method. But with regards to the regression model, right, we have 4 steps to it. The first being scores from other questionnaires, like that examined one's attitude towards exercise and their motivations. Step 2 of this regression model included the memory conditions. So this was your positive, negative, or no memory conditions at all. The third step was your big 5 personality traits, so your extroversion, conscientiousness, and neuroticism. And last, for step 4, was the interactions between the personality traits and the memory conditions. So we wanted to see if whether or not the personalities interacted with the memory conditions in particular. So extroversion and the positive condition, extroversion and the negative condition, and so on and so forth. Sadly, however, we found no significant model involving the big 5 personality traits nor any of its interactions. So I won't go too much into this. Now, since we've all got these results, right, what do they actually mean? With regards to valence of motivational memories, so if I asked you to recall a positive, negative, or no memory at all, what we actually found was that positive motivational memories invoke the largest increase in exercise activity. Now, this is in line with literature, according to Biondolillo and Pillemer back in 2014. Negative motivational memories, however, had either no change or negative impact to one's exercise levels. So, in other words, recalling a negative motivational memory would cause you to not want to exercise or could even reduce your current exercise level as well. However, I must point out, though, that this data was not significant, so I'll take it with a pinch of salt first. In the control conditions, however, there was a slight increase in exercise activity. Now, this occurred, right, because according to Biondolillo and Pillemer, it is presumed that just discussing about exercise itself can cause or prompt people to want to exercise. So, with regards, right, to valence or long or prolonged period, now this is what I mean with regards to, say, a 1-month time frame. What we found was that between the conditions, there was a significant difference. This suggests that the effects of the memory intervention method, so in other words, me prompting other people to exercise more, this method lasts for longer than 1 week and up to 1 month at least. There was no significant difference, however, in the change of exercise activity for the second time frame. Now, this was from session 2 to session 3. Basically, what this means was that me giving this memory intervention method to an individual will provide them with a one-time boost within the first week. And this increase in exercise level actually maintains for the rest of the month after that. So there's actually a quote-unquote permanent increase in exercise activity after this memory recollection. With regards to personality, sadly, we found no significance with regards to extroversion, neuroticism, or conscientiousness. Although we do know based on literature that these personality traits were linked to exercise activities, they don't really contribute to the increase of the efficacy of memory interventions. This could be due to the fact that extroversion and conscientiousness don't have any strong or significant relations to the directive function of autobiographical memory. It's the one where, people focus on memory to try to guide their future decisions or actions. Neuroticism, on the other hand, has conflicting literature as well. So it has have an unsteady foundation right there. With that being said, though, there are a fair bit of limitations to the research over here. And sad to say, at the tail end of the research, we were kind of impacted by the global pandemic, as I believe or presume that some people may have decreased exercise level because they wish to stay indoors and reduce the risk of getting infected. Another thing is that for this sample, right, it was quite specialized, as with most other psychology experiments. We only had university students for this experiment, and last but not least, we actually had quite a neurotic population. So in other words, that this group of people in particular were very sad and anxious and tense half the time. Now, the global average, right, for this age group tends to score about 22 out of 40 in the scale that I use. However, for this particular sample, right, we scored a total of 26, which is quite high in my opinion. All right. So with all of that being said, right, I'd just like to say that the recollection of positive motivational memories can actually bring about the largest change in exercise activity when you compare it to the recollection of negative memories or have no recollections at all, those in the control condition. This change in exercise activity is then maintained after the initial week for at least 1 month. With regards to personality, extroversion, conscientiousness, non-neuroticism seems to affect or interact with memory intervention when it comes to exercise. With all this being said, I would just like to give a special thanks and shout out to the World Conference on Exercise Medicine for funding this research. I also like to thank my team, particularly my supervisor, Professor Steve Jensen, for giving me this opportunity to present the conference here, and two of my lab mates, Jasmine Mun and Angeline Chung, for helping me with this research. I also like to thank a personal friend of mine, Karan, for helping me review the presentation and the script that I am presenting to you guys today. With all that being said as well, thank you everybody for your attention on this. And if you have any questions, feel free to ask me on this matter. All right, well, thank you very much.
So much, Mr. Lee. So now we will be opening our Q&A. Do you have any question to ask Mr. Lee Kean Mun?
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm open for any questions.
Yeah. Good to hear you. Okay, that's...
Okay.
So far, no question yet. So it's quite...
Oh, oh no. I guess
So
it's like
maybe, Mr. Lee, maybe I just ask you just a question. So what's the drawback during your finding? Because you are conducting during like near to COVID, right? So there's a pandemic happening. So will it be affected by the COVID?
I would actually believe so, because at the last week of the experiment, actually, that's when the cases in Malaysia started increasing quite a fair bit. And that's actually when we went into lockdown. So this was actually back in March, quite some time ago.
Yep.
But even then, right, I still saw quite a lot of people still exercising. At least my participants were exercising. So that was actually quite nice to notice. So even though like people are still worried about the pandemic going about, people who were participating in my experiment, right, were still actively exercising, still going out there despite all of this. So yeah, I would say that's quite a good sign, but the effects may have been weakened or reduced.
Yeah, true. Okay, because of the mobility movement control, so some of them could not go out to exercise. Maybe they are in the lockdown. Yeah.
Yep. I have a few questions. What kind of exercise do we have to do at a time of anxiety? Well, with regards to dealing with anxiety, right, I'll actually strongly suggest, say, mindfulness exercises or mindfulness practice or meditation, actually. That helps me personally quite a lot. So deep breathing exercises in particular, something more slower paced as well, like for example, yoga, or just even easy walking, or just a light walk around the neighborhood if it's possible, or within your own house, given the context of the pandemic. Okay, and the next question, the lack of awareness in exercise and its benefit could be the main reason for one to implement it. Can something like a compulsory exercise for 5 minutes daily, introduced in all workplaces, schools, etc., be implemented? Well, having compulsory exercises in the workplace can help promote exercise activity, but you're still, in a sense, still forcing people to do it. The reason why we did our particular experiment, right, was because we wanted to innately motivate people. Because just telling people, okay, you have to exercise, isn't the best thing, because when they're not being watched or when they're not being monitored, then they'll sort of not want to do it. But when you motivate people, like truly motivate them from the core, they are more likely to exercise as and when they like, or whenever they feel that it's the right time to do it. So it's the same way how if you're really passionate about a particular project, you'll keep going at it, you'll keep working on it. That's what we hope to inspire in our participants as well during the study. We hope to want to make people want to exercise as and whenever they can and whenever they feel like it. All right, another question by Mila. How can we say that the effects of exercise activity is increasing or decreasing? What were the exercise activity undertaken by the respondents? Okay, so we actually utilized a scale by Godwin. It was called the Godwin Leisure Time Exercise Questionnaire. So over there, we actually measured people's exercise based on the intensity. So either be it mild, where it requires, like low effort, moderate, something that's not exhausting, and the last one being strenuous. So this is something where if you do a lot of exercise, it causes your heart to beat rapidly and has quite a lot of sweating involved. Basically, through this particular scale, we measured how people exercise and, in a sense, the general overall exercise activity. We wanted to utilize, say, for example, more physiological means, but due to time limitations, we weren't able to implement it. In response to Ethan, any exercise or practice could help the individual to recall more positive thoughts. I'll actually recommend how do I put it? Thinking about the question that I presented for the presentation itself today. So just sort of think back to a time where you were very happy with the results of exercising, and we were really satisfied with yourself. And that usually helps. Just thinking of happy thoughts itself helps to promote the desire to exercise. In terms of trying to practice and ingraining this line of thought, right? I'll actually like to suggest, in a sense, a form of cognitive behavioral therapy. This is in its most barest form. I wouldn't actually call it that. But just think of happy things on a daily basis, like at the end of the day, try to think 3 things that make you happy, or in this case, try to think of different situations of exercise, where you're just happy or you were just glad that you were able to exercise. Although it may be difficult at first, the constant practicing and this routine, it helps build up the procedure itself, and it helps motivate you at the end of the day. I hope that answers the questions. All right. Yeah, it seems that we have no more questions on this. I'll just like to say thank you very much for listening, and yeah.
Okay. So, okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you, Kean Mun, for your interesting presentation. Please join me together for a virtual applause. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Okay. Before we end, just a quick announcement. CPD point will be given, awarded to all Alliance Health professionals by the Allied Health Sciences Department, Ministry of Health, Malaysia. Next, e-certificates will be given to all attendees who attend the whole sessions. So, this completes our 4th sessions on exercise and mental health. I hope you have enjoyed and learned so much information from these sessions and on exercise and mental health as I did. I think I enjoyed it very much. And I shall see you on day 5 at the WCM 2020 conference with the topic on exercise and metabolic health on the 3rd of November, 3 p.m. Malaysia time. See you then. Till then, stay safe. Sayonara, jumpa lagi, and bye-bye. Thank you very much.